In this chapter, we're going to focus on the following 10 keywords: harmonious, ajar, dissuade, quaint, legible, alliance, onslaught, drone, goad, and puny. Now let's start with the first keyword, harmonious. Now when you look at this picture, you can see the great sunset, the sea, and even those stones in the foreground. They all create this sense of everything is going well with each other in this picture. Could that have anything to do with the word harmonious? What is the meaning of harmonious? Let's find out. A harmonious is an adjective. A harmonious relationship, agreement, or discussion is friendly and peaceful. For example, their harmonious relationship resulted in part from their similar goals, and we can use harmoniously as an adverb. For example, to live together harmoniously as men and women is an achievement. And harmonious can also be used in a different context. Something that is harmonious has parts which go well together and which are in proportion to each other. For example, the architecture is harmonious and no building is over 5 or 6 floors high. We can also use harmoniously here. For example, we can say a pure, harmoniously proportioned face. And we can use harmonious in another context as well. Now, musical notes that are harmonious produce a pleasant sound when played together. For example, the mysterious skill involved in producing harmonious sounds. So the next time you remember this picture that features the sunset, remember the word harmonious and what it means. And now let's move to the next keyword, ajar. Let's take a look at this picture. Now we can see a door that is not exactly closed, but it's not exactly open either. It is slightly open. Could that be the meaning of the word ajar? Let's find out. Now, ajar is an adjective. If a door is ajar, it is slightly open, just like the way we saw it in the picture. For example, he left the door ajar in case I needed him. And synonyms for ajar are the words open, gaping, agape, or partly open. So the next time you remember the picture of this door, partly open, remember the word ajar and what it means. And now for the next keyword, dissuade. Now, if you look at the picture, you can see that this man is showing something to this family, and maybe he's trying to convince them to do something, take a trip, or maybe he's just the opposite. He's not trying to persuade them, he's trying to dissuade them. Is that the opposite of persuade? Let's find out. Now, dissuade is a verb. If you dissuade someone from doing or believing something, you persuade them not to do or believe it. For example, doctors has tried to dissuade patients from smoking. They tried to persuade them not to smoke. So the next time you remember this picture, remember the word dissuade and what it means. And now for the next keyword, quaint. Now you look at this picture and it looks like a place that is in an old city, in the middle of this old city with those beautiful old buildings all close to each other. Could that be related to the word quaint? Let's find out. Now, quaint is an adjective. Now, something that is quaint is attractive because it is unusual and old-fashioned, just like the picture we saw. For example, a small, quaint town with narrow streets. We can use quaintly as an adverb. For example, this may seem a quaintly old-fashioned idea. We can also use quaintness as an uncountable noun. For example, the quaintness of the rural north. So the next time you remember this picture taken from a part from an old town somewhere, remember the word quaint and what it means. And now for the next keyword, legible. Now if you look at the picture, we can see some handwriting. And when it comes to handwriting instead of typing, the most important thing of any kind of handwriting is not how artistic it is, but if it is readable or not, if we can read the handwriting or not. And to me, this handwriting we see in this picture is definitely readable. But how does that relate to the word legible? Does it have the same meaning? Let's find out. Now, legible is an adjective. Legible writing is clear enough to read. So exactly like the one we saw in the picture. For example, my handwriting isn't very legible. cannot be read easily. Or we can say a barely legible sign. You look at the sign and you find it difficult to read. Synonyms for legible are the words readable, clear, plain, and bold. So the next time you remember this picture with the fountain pen and the handwriting, remember the word legible and what it means. And now for the next keyword, alliance. Now if you look at this picture, you can see a group of maybe friends, maybe people who know each other, partners, associates, but we can see that they are all kind of united. Maybe it's friendship, or maybe it's kind of business, who knows? But how do you think that relates to the word alliance? Let's find out. Now, alliance is a countable noun. An alliance is a group of countries or political parties that are formally united and working together because they have similar aims. For example, the two parties were still too much apart to form an alliance. And synonyms for alliance in this context are the words union, league, association, or agreement. So the next time you remember this picture of these 5 friends, remember the word alliance and what it means. And now for the next keyword, onslaught. Now if you look at this picture, it is kind of scary. It looks like one of those pictures that come from a horror film or something. It seems like some hideous crimes are about to happen. But how does that relate to the word onslaught? Let's find out. Onslaught is a countable noun. An onslaught on someone or something is a very violent, forceful attack against them. For example, the attackers launched another vicious onslaught on their victim. A very forceful attack and very violent. We can also say that not about physical attacks. We can also use it for a media onslaught, for example. An onslaught can be used in a different context. If you refer to an onslaught of something, you mean that there is a large amount of it, often so that it is very difficult to deal with. For example, the constant onslaught of ads on American TV. So again, here we're not talking about physical attacks. We're talking about the onslaught of ads, the large amount of ads on American TV that it is difficult to deal with. So the next time you remember this scary picture, remember the word onslaught and what it means. And now for the next keyword, drone. Now obviously what we see in the picture is a drone. And drone cameras are very common nowadays, and they can take incredible shots from places that are very difficult for people to get shots from. But is this the only meaning of drone, or is there more to the word drone that meets the eye? Let's find out. Now, drone can be used as a verb. If something drones, it makes a low, continuous, dull noise. For example, above him, an invisible plane droned through the night sky. And synonyms for drone in this context are the words hum, buzz, vibrate, or purr. And drone can also be used as a noun. For example, the constant drone of the motorways. We can also use droning as a noun. We can say the droning of a plane far overhead. And synonyms for droning are the words humming, buzzing, vibrating, or purring. A drone can be used in a different context. If you say that someone drones, you mean that they keep talking about something in a boring way, and that is a negative word that shows our disapproval. For example, the droning murmur of the doctor's voice in the bedroom had ceased. So we're talking about the boring way a person talks. And drone in this context can also be used as a noun. For example, the minister's voice was a relentless drone. Very boring. And we can say drone on with the same meaning as drone. For example, Daniel just drones on about American policy. He just talks on and never stops in a very boring way. And drone can also be used in a different context. Now, people who do not contribute anything to society or to an organization are sometimes described as drones. And this is a negative word that shows disapproval. For example, a few are dim-witted drones, but most are talented, frustrated, wasted people. And synonyms for drone in this context are the words parasite, idler, and lounger. And finally, drone is what we just saw in the picture, A drone is a type of aircraft that does not have a pilot and is controlled by someone on the ground. For example, drones frequently pass over this region. So the next time you remember this picture of a drone, obviously remember the word drone and the different meanings it can have. And now for the next keyword, goad. Now you can see that most of these people are booing someone. Maybe because they don't like this person or whatever's happening, we don't know what the situation is, but what we know for sure that when someone boos someone else, it's definitely something that makes this person angry or embarrassed. But how does that relate to the word goad? Let's find out. A goad is a verb. If you goad someone, you deliberately make them feel angry or irritated, often causing them to react by doing something. For example, he wondered if the psychiatrist was trying to goad him into some unguarded response. And goad can also be used as a noun. For example, his opposition acted as a goad to her determination to succeed. And goad can also be used in a different context. A goad is something that makes someone do a particular thing. For example, Ellie uses wit as a goad to try to force people to see what is in front of them. And synonyms for goad in this context are the words incentive, urge, spur, and motivation. So the next time you remember this picture of the crowd booing someone, remember the word goad and what it means. And now for the last keyword for this chapter, puny. Now if you look at this picture, you can see there's a tortoise in there. And if you see this tortoise and you see it's sitting on a bench or something, but from the proportions of the picture, we can tell that this tortoise is very small, is tiny, or is puny. Who knows? Does it have the same meaning or is it a little bit different? Let's find out. Now, puny is an adjective. Someone or something that is puny is very small or weak. For example, we say a lanky, puny youth, very weak, very small. Or another example, the resources at the central bank's disposal are simply too puny, very weak. So the next time you remember the picture of this tortoise, remember the word puny and what it means. And that is all for this chapter.